Thank you for coming. Pass it off to José and José Ibañez.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So, hello everyone. Thank you for coming. I didn't think actual people were going to show up here. I had already practiced talking to a mirror, and anyway. Thank you for coming. My name is José Ibañez. This is my wife. Her name is Raissa, but you can call her Rose. And I'm going to be giving you a presentation on a project that I embarked a few months ago. It's a lie, many years ago. And I decided to present it to you because to me this is very important. It's a passion project and it has to do a lot of why we are all here. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to grab my phone and I'm going to have my hefty screen reader for notes and stuff. So let's go for the first slide, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
30.
Yeah. Okay, so the name of the talk is Beyond Area Labels. I am José Ibañez. I'm a software developer. I mostly work on web technologies and mostly for very obvious reasons. I don't have my cane with me, but I'm a blind developer. So I work on mostly back-end stuff. I love Go, working with Postgres and all that kind of stuff. But I also do a lot of JavaScript because JavaScript. So yeah. So what I'm going to be presenting to you today is a project that, again, is a passion project, and I'm going to give you a little bit of my backstory. So we go slide 3.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a little kid, my father has this obsession with movies. He loved movies. He had a huge collection where he bought DVDs and had bookshelves of them. And they had numberings so you can find them. And he started making binders where you could go to a certain page and the movie would be there. And I fell in love with that. I love movies, and don't worry, we'll get to the part of the blind guy watching movies. And so I became enamored with this. I love movies, I love coding, and at some point I decided, well, you know what? How can I do this thing that I love that my father used to do a lot? And I decided, well, I need a media center. And, well, let's go to the options that we have on the market right now. Don't know how many of you self-host stuff around here? Don't do the hands because I won't see them. So don't do something ah.
5 hands up.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm a big self-hoster. I love it. And I force it on my family and everyone, and they suffer through it. And I went to a party recently, and I went, no, because I run my own DNS server. And the guy was like, you're crazy, man. And so yeah, these are the options that are currently on the market for streaming your own media and doing it the way I like it, which is I buy Blu-rays or through Apple and legally. Cannot emphasize that enough. And all the things that you're about to see are Blu-rays, but these are the options that are on the market. We have Jellyfin, which is the open source one. We have Plex, which is what they call the gateway drug to self-hosting. And we have Emby, which was the original Jellyfin. Jellyfin is an open source fork of Emby. And then we have Kodi, which, anyway. And, so these are the options on the market. I'm going to maybe bash on them a little bit, but I want you to know that at no point do I think any of these options are bad or that I'm criticizing them in a way like they're doing this horrible, because all of these projects, especially the open source one, especially doing this project, I admire them the heck out of it. And this has been a very humbling experience, building my own media center. So, sorry, notes. So what slide is this one?
Let's put to the test.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and show you why I decided to embark on this journey, okay? Originally, I was gonna bring an NVIDIA Shield so that you could actually see, because this is very focused on hosting it and being able to play it on a laptop connected to an HDMI with 3 Frankenstein cables to 3 speakers that your wife sits down and goes, that's not going in the living room. And so
I don't talk like that.
It was a very general thing.
Okay, thanks.
I love her. And so we were going to do this originally with a NVIDIA Shield, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
technical
Hardware.
difficulties, like connecting an NVIDIA Shield and connecting it to Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. So we are going to take a look at specifically Jellyfin, but we're going to take a look at it through the web app. Okay.
Okay. You can go there.
Now, what I'm going to do is turn on Georgie. Georgie is the screen reader. That's what I call it. And we're gonna take a look at Jellyfin. I'm gonna show you something, why I decided to embark on this journey of creating my own, and how the difficulties and how hard, especially for blind people like myself who want to entertain their family. So,
Beyond ARIA labels, system settings, Finder, support, support.
Just so you know, guys, we wrote an article about how a screen reader works, and if you want, we put a link tree together. And if you go to the website, there is a link to this specific article if you want to know more about it.
yes, thank you. Forgot
go.
about that. So we're here on the Jellyfin. This would be the movie section, and again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Blu-rays, legally buy. And so we have the audio there playing on the speakers, and I want you to take a listen to what I'm going to be moving around. I move around using the tab key, right? So we're gonna listen to it.
Link, web, button, mark play, button, add to favorites, button, more, button, link, 12 angry men, link, 13 hours, link, web, button, mark play, button.
So you see all the tabs that I'm doing just to get through from one movie to the next. And like some of the things are not even like this, for example.
Link, web.
This is just some link that does something.
You are currently on button inside of web content period. To click this button press control, option.
You might click it and maybe the web browser closed. I have no idea. And this is just a little example, right? I cannot go through every little feature of the app because it would take forever, right? But it's very complicated to navigate this app around using a screen reader because there's a lot of stuff. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with web development, right? Or how it works, but especially modals, windows, and all that kind of stuff, they could get kind of difficult. So going back to the presentation.
Great browser, great, beep. Voice over off.
So when I was met with all of these challenges, I was talking to my two little cousins, which are my two little sisters, and I said to them, you know what? I'm gonna build one. Ay. Anyway, and so, like I said, like I did what any enthusiast would do, I decided to build my own. And that's when I started dating my wife. And I was talking to her and trying to convince her all these crazy things that I do. And then we were talking once, and we were saying, I need a name. And she came up with the name, Igloo. The name of my company is Blind Penguin, for obvious reasons. And so we decided to, like, all of the apps that we make are like something theme on like Igloo. We have another one that's for file storage and it's called Ice Capsule and stuff like that. So very cute names. What slide is this one?
We're going to look at Jellyfin repository.
Yes. So I think one of the first questions that comes up when I tell people that I'm building something from scratch is, right, so many distros, so many choices, why build another when we have already an option available that we can contribute to it and maybe help out in that project? Well, first answer to that is, this is a passion project for me. I really wanted to do it. I wanted to do it my way. Second, I don't like .NET. I'm sorry. And this project is built completely on .NET and has some legacy code from, again, this was a fork of Emby, so it has some stuff that I'm not a big fan of. And specifically, I wanted to simplify it. I want this to be streamlined, I want this to work fast, and I want this to work on Raspberry Pis, low-end devices, Docker, whatever you want to throw at it, it needs to run on that. It needs to be super efficient. So these are some of the reasons. Again, I think Jellyfin is a great project, but for me and my family, like this, I need to do something else. I don't want to be watching Oppenheimer and then wondering why it got stuck there and it's just not moving, and my wife sitting on the couch and me like, it's not working. So, next slide.
We're gonna look at the Igloo features, technical features.
Yeah, okay, so the app, right?
Yeah.
So,
Postgres is the first one.
yes, sorry. Long presentation and a lot of work and don't remember some stuff. So what are technical aspects of this? Database, Postgres. One thing I like about the way I'm doing it is that on Jellyfin you have the full image. There's no database, right? On this one, I want you to be able to access the actual databases. For some reason you want to change something, or hell, even if you want to use the same Postgres instance for many servers, you can do that. So Postgres, open source, relational, very battle tested. For the backend is written in Go. I love Go, super simple to write, super efficient, has a lot of advantages, and I just love working with it. I know some people might find it boring, and every time you have an error, if error is not nil, then do this. People don't seem to like that. I love that because I'm a stupid and I need to very simple stuff for coding. Like, I want it to be very obvious. For the web app, React. I know, React. But React has some interesting features that I'll show you for accessibility that I think are important, and then I'll show you in a little bit when you see the demo of the app. And for the TV clients, React Native. Why React Native and not build it on something like Kotlin or go with Swift and be super efficient? Well, I think for me specifically, originally my idea was, yes, to build it in Kotlin, but too much work. And I found that React Native was very good for the job. And it has a lot of advantages when it comes to accessibility that I'll talk about in a few moments. And I can obviously use the same code for Android and for tvOS. And not only that, like eventually my idea is that I want this to work on WebOS and televisions, not just on your Apple TV and NVIDIA Shield. I want this to go on TVs. And this helps a lot with that because we can deploy to a WebOS or some other technologies. Okay.
Yeah.
What's this one?
Let's put it to the test.
Yep. So now I'm going to show you a little demo. Like I said, originally this was going to be the actual app on the NVIDIA Shield, but technical reasons has been a little difficult. So I'm just going to show you from the web app.
VoiceOver. Current page. Visited. Link. Home.
So
Kind of make full screen.
Igloo Media Center. Webcom.
can you see it? Okay. So this would be sort of the home screen of like when you log in. So, well, you're not logged in right now, so I'm going to log in.
Entering Igloo Media Center web content. Start link. Heading level 3. Row 1 colon. A star
What?
list. Start link. Sign in. Navigation. Username. Defend. Off-end. You are currently on the tech heading level. Email address. Defend. Off-end. App. Password.
Signing in. Oh, it's a little bit slow.
Yeah, the internet is a little bit slow. So
But it's
this,
signing in.
yeah, just so you know, this is running off of my home server, running Tailscale. If you look at the,
Website not secure. Do you want?
ah,
What do you mean?
Igloo Media Center. Webcom.
okay, can you see the screen there?
Yes.
So this would be basically now locked in, right? So this would be like the latest movies, and you go in, and you remember the test we did with Jellyfin, all the. So now let's try this one.
Current page. Link. Movies. Link. Sign up. Button. Start watching. Link. Heading level 3. Row 1 colon. A Star Wars Story 2016. Link. Heading level 3. News of the World 2020. Link.
Simple.
Heading level 3. The Living Daylights 1987. You are
Says
currently
the
on
name.
Says the name and the information that you need. No need to fuss around with like a lot of stuff. Clear UI, and I want this, like I said, to be streamlined. There's a lot of things behind here.
The server crashed.
Ah, the server crashed. Okay, sorry. Again, the connection is not the greatest. But
Go back to
the test is what I wanted you to see with the screen reader, okay?
Ray browser. System set. Not terminal. Safari. Ray browser. Ray.
Okay.
VoiceOver off.
So, what's this one?
So now we're gonna talk about the quotes. The first one.
Like it?
Very nerdy.
Yes. By the way, just so you know, I'm not a nerd, okay?
No, sure.
So, this to me is, I would try to come up with like creative ways of doing this slide, and this like encapsulated perfectly for me. We, as I said, write it in React Native and in React. We can deploy to all of the different targets, and we can use area labels, which are like accessibility standards for web. And you can use them. They're pretty easy to access. If you need information, just go to WebMDM or Mozilla Developers, and you can find all the information you want there to help you out build it. And I think most of us are Linux users here, I think. And I think we can admit that thanks to web technologies, Linux adoption has grown. Like, we have VS Code now, we have all those horrible Slack thingies and Teams and all this kind of stuff, but we don't like them, but they're on Linux now, and they help us, like, we can go to our jobs and say, look, I'm gonna use this machine and it has everything I need. Plus, it has all the other goodies that we like.
Next one is the Spider-Man one, area labels.
So, remember the test that we did with Jellyfin, right? So, this is something you gotta understand about accessibility and about building for, especially for blind people, which is my case. Sometimes standards can be a bit too much. I'll give you an example. What's happening with the Jellyfin one is something that you'll see in a lot of good accessibility apps. And what do I mean by that? Well, in order for you to tell a screen reader, like, this is an image like this is a title, you have to give them, like I said, area labels or hints. What's going on with the Jellyfin one is pretty simple. They are following instructions on the standard, but they're not actually testing it. So what happens when you go with a screen reader to a thing that has a bunch of area labels? Well, it's gonna read you the title, it's gonna read you the image is gonna have an alt tag, so it's gonna read it again, then it's gonna read the link, then it's gonna read the, like, you gotta be careful how you use them, because how do you want your users to navigate the screen? Do I really need for them to have all this information here, or do I just want them to hear the title, click, and go somewhere else? So this is very important, testing it, and use area labels wisely.
Assemble.
My favorite. Well, at least my wife's favorite. She loves the Avengers. This, to me, is the most important one. The community can help you out in so many ways, and this is what I meant. Jellyfin is an incredible project, and honestly, cannot recommend it enough. After I built mine, I'll just recommend mine, but it's humbling to build a project like this and to think that a community of people can get together and build projects that we criticize because we try to compare them to mega corporations. I don't know how many of you have heard of the project Image for self-hosting images. Yeah. We sometimes go like, but it doesn't have this feature of Google Photos. For freak's sake, like, this is a couple of guys developing this, and they're doing an amazing job. Like, this is incredible that we're all here. We're all here because we love this. We have a passion for this, and we want to do this not just because of the money, it's because we believe on something else.
The other one from the start, accessibility.
Yes, and for accessibility. Guys, if you don't do it from the beginning, you're just gonna watch a bunch of JSX or HTML or whatever it is that you're written in your eye, and you're gonna go like, yeah, hey, how much area labels do we have to add? No, thank you. So my suggestion, if you're gonna do it from the beginning. It's not that hard. It's just one more line, but the more UI you have, the more you have to add. So add them at the beginning. It'll be easier. And I will thank you from the bottom of my heart.
The simulator is a lie.
I'm sorry?
The simulator is a lie.
Yeah. This is one of the worst ones. Especially for TV apps and mobile apps. I don't mind using the simulators that either Xcode, I hate that word, Xcode, or Android brings you, but always remember that you're running these simulators on your computer, and your computer has a bunch of RAM, has a bunch of CPUs, and it has some major differences when it comes to screen readers. Screen readers on Android is like a ghetto. Like, every Android has their own little twist on a screen reader, so test it out, because in my case, I have an NVIDIA Shield. That's how I can test it. I cannot go test on every device because that would be impossible. That's part of the community, right? Like, tell me this is broken very nicely, and I can fix it.
Accessibility, the course.
So this is a little bit more of the same, right? Like, Accessibility is super important, guys. And I'll tell you why, because sometimes it's a little like, I have to admit, we are the minority. We are not the majority, and we're not never gonna be the ones who demand and can get everything we want, because again, we're the minority. But people like me, we are awesome at figuring out stuff because we don't have a choice. So why do I love Linux is because it's allowed me to figure out a lot of this stuff. So invest in people like me because we're technical. We like to get into the nitty-gritty stuff because we don't have much of a choice to begin with. We have to figure it out. We have to do this stuff. And like the movie says, if you build it, it will come.
The open source software prides itself on being.
And like I was talking, we do this because we believe in something. We have a passion for privacy. We love building things for ourselves and being self-sufficient. But if we are doing that, then I think we need to include everyone. Because if I'm left out because I don't have the proper tools or the way to work on it, on Linux or something like that, I'm just gonna go to Mac. I'm being honest here. I'm just gonna go to Windows, and I hate that. I really do. I don't like it at all. This MacBook that I have right here, you will not believe the heartaches this has cost me every time an update comes and just crashes everything. I cannot tell you how many times I do a Mac OS upgrade and Visual Studio Code just goes berserk with the screen reader. So it's really, really hard, and we've come a long way in Linux land, but we still have a lot to gain. I'll give you a very good example right now. I have to stick on X11 because if you go to Wayland, everything is sandbox, so the screen reader has no idea what's going on the screen. So, for example, for me, Ubuntu LTS with X11. I hear that Cosmic is doing great strides on that. I haven't been able to test it out, so I'm hoping to give it a try. But for me right now, most of the time, you're sticking with X11.
Conclusions.
Conclusion. Thank you all for coming. It is, for me, an honor and a pleasure that you've all come here to hear me talk about accessibility. This is truly my passion. This is something I really want to work on. I love building open source software, especially for this kind of stuff, for my family, and for living a great life. And there's something that I would advise all of you in this room: have loved ones around that can help you out. I would not have been able to do all of this without my wife. She was the one who pushed me to do this, and she believes in me, and she always coaches me. Have a friend, have a family member, or someone that understands what you're doing. Come to events like this. This is what makes a community. This is what's going to push us over the hump, and this is what's important. So thank you all for coming, and if you have any questions, feel free to fire them. We also have a form on our website with the QR code. I don't know if it's on the screen right now.
Yes.
You can, on that QR code, you can find all more information about the project. We also have the GitHub. It's still a work in progress, right? This is very, very difficult. Any questions you have, you can ask right now, or you can send it there on the website. We have a specific area just for answering questions about this project, or if you want to know something else about Blind Penguin, my company. So thank you so much.
Woo! I'm gonna read the questions for you, okay? So Kevin asked, I'm a professor as a UX design as a UX designer and front-end developer. I'm quite familiar with ARIA labels for web pages and web apps. However, in open source software projects that I work on, they are not web-based. I struggle. Are there any resources you can share to ensure proper accessibility?
Yes. So this was, thank you. That was a good question because there was a detail that escaped me. Not everything has to be a web app, right? We don't want a video editor running on Electron. That sounds amazing, right? Like, we don't want that. But there are certain things that we can build. React Native has made long strides. Now, regarding your question about accessibility on, let's go to native apps on Qt or GTK. In my experience, if you were talking about specifically Linux desktop environments, stick to GTK because that'll be your best bet. Orca on GNOME is the best, is not the only screen reader on Linux, and it works pretty well on GTK and on web apps. So if you follow GTK standards for building apps, it'll usually work out pretty decently with Orca, and that could help a long way. On Plasma, I have no answers there because they don't have a screen reader, and most of their apps don't work with Orca.
Related to this question, they didn't submit a name, but the question is, are there any accessible UI components libraries you would recommend?
Yes, if you're talking about web-based, I would say most of your typical frameworks, like everyone's favorite Bootstrap, like if you go to the documentation, most of their components are gonna come, basically you can copy and paste and it already has all the information you need. On React Native, which is what I was talking about, that one is a bit more difficult because there's no framework that I could say that, oh, it works really well with extensibility. Actually, one of the hardest things about translating these web apps is that focus is really hard. If you're familiar with single page apps, some of the things that happens is, since you don't reload or send a new page from the server, like sometimes you'll click a link, go to a different page, but since the page didn't reload, the screen reader just loses focus and it doesn't even know where it is. So you'll tab again and it'll just be like, okay, so I guess I'm just starting from the top. So yeah, it can be a little difficult, but in this case, I would recommend a lot Mozilla, the developer, Mozilla Docs. They're really good about explaining some of this stuff.